Multiversal madness, epic conspiracies, and a villain who'll make Thanos look like Baby Groot. Here's what's happening in the next phase of the MCU. While Phase 4 might be one part of the Multiverse Saga that encompasses Phases 4 through 6, it didn't actually explore too much of the MCU's multiverse. Sure, the multiverse might have been a core element of films and shows like Spider-Man No Way Home, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and Loki, but few of the other Phase 4 projects went anywhere near the concept. Now, however, with Kang the Conqueror being formally introduced in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, the Multiverse Saga can really start to live up to its name. Although Kang's dastardly plans have yet to be revealed, if the comics are anything to go by, then it's possible that he's building a multiversal army made up of his own variants. What he's doing in the quantum realm is anyone's guess, but it's probably no coincidence that Avengers Endgame revealed that this tiny reality acts as a convenient form of time travel. Of course, Loki is getting a second season in Phase 5 too, so we're bound to get some more multiverse fun there as well. Outside of those two projects, well, it's anyone's guess. But here's hoping we get to delve even deeper into the Marvel multiverse. At this point, it's pretty obvious that the MCU is building up Kang the Conqueror as its next big bad. In Phase 6, Avengers: The Kang Dynasty will likely see Kang take on the MCU's mightiest heroes in a huge cinematic brawl, and he's likely to play a key role in that movie's follow-up, Avengers: Secret Wars. Kang didn't have much of a role in Phase 4, since we only met one of his variants in a single episode of Loki, but he's set to make his proper on-screen debut in Phase 5. Kang will be the main villain in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, and he's likely to have at least some kind of presence in Season 2 of Loki since he was heavily teased in the first season's finale. Outside of that, it's tough to say where Kang will appear next, but with films like The Marvels and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 further exploring the Marvel cosmos, it's certainly possible that more characters will start to interact with Kang or his variants. Phase 4 might have simply hinted at the rise of the Conqueror, but Phase 5 will plant the seeds for him to become the MCU's next big threat.
See you soon.
Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, the first entry in Phase 5, hits theaters this coming February. The movie's fun-sized heroes will be joined by Scott Lang's daughter, Cassie, as they traverse the quantum realm to interact with some strange and dangerous new entities. As you now know, Ant-Man and company will run into Kang at some point, but details about the rest of Quantumania have been pretty scarce, and Kang certainly isn't going to be the only villain for Scott to fight. For one thing, Bill Murray is set to appear as a minor antagonist, while rumors have suggested that Corey Stoll's Ant-Man character, Darren Cross, might be returning as the MCU's very own version of MODOK. However it turns out, this latest adventure into the quantum realm will play a key role in setting the stage for Phase 5 of the MCU. Marvel's Secret Invasion is easily one of the biggest series coming to Disney Plus in 2023. The show should deliver some solid conspiracy thrills, which is only fitting for an adaptation of one of Marvel's most iconic storylines. For the first time in the MCU, Nick Fury will assume a leading role as he deals with a rebel sect of Skrulls led by the mysterious Gravik, who have infiltrated various levels of human society. Along with Jackson reprising his role as Fury, several MCU stalwarts are set to return, including Don Cheadle, Ben Mendelsohn, Kobe Smulders, and Martin Freeman. Secret Invasion could also have a significant impact on the MCU going forward, as the comic book on which it's based is famous for having revealed the Skrulls' identities behind some of Earth's mightiest heroes. The series will also introduce a host of new characters played by such esteemed actors as Emilia Clarke and Olivia Colman. Clearly, the Marvel Universe is facing a cataclysmic alien invasion. Who knows what kind of chaos it could bring? Right off the back of the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, James Gunn and the Guardians are set to deliver their third and final adventure together on the big screen with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. In this installment, Peter Quill and company fight to protect one of their own while dealing with new friends and foes. Although Marvel hasn't given up too much info regarding the latest Guardians adventure, the first teaser trailer gave us enough to chew on. With the High Evolutionary appearing as the film's main villain and the debut of Lila, an anthropomorphic otter, it's safe to say that Volume 3 will likely focus more on Rocket's origins and see him collide with his creator. The film will also introduce Adam Warlock, who plays a major role in Marvel lore and will probably become one of the most powerful entities in the MCU.
I think I shall call him Adam.
More importantly, this will likely be the last time we see this Guardians team together. Dave Bautista has publicly said that this is his last Guardians film. So there will likely be some kind of send-off for Drax, and many fans have speculated that Rocket won't be getting out alive either. Either way, Volume 3 is shaping up to be a fitting and emotional final part in the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy. Echo made her debut back in Hawkeye, in which she acted as a minor antagonist for Clint Barton and Kate Bishop and confronted her adoptive father, Kingpin. Now she's set to star in her own series on Disney Plus that will continue to flesh out her character and see her rise as a new hero in the MCU. While fans are still eagerly awaiting their first look at the upcoming series, there are some details we know about the show, including the return of two fan-favorite characters. The series will see Maya Lopez return to her Oklahoma hometown to confront her past and reconnect with her Native American roots, finding new inspiration as Kingpin's shadow looms over her. Along with Vincent D'Onofrio returning as Kingpin, Charlie Cox is also set to reprise his role as Matthew Murdock. Obviously, this is a pretty big deal for fans of these two characters, and it seems that Echo will help set the stage for Daredevil's full-blown return later in Phase 5. Loki is the first live-action MCU show on Disney Plus to get a second season, and it's set to return in Phase 5 with the titular God of Mischief getting into more multiverse hijinks. The series will pick up after Sylvie's hasty decision to kill He Who Remains, forever altering the timelines and sending Loki back to a time variance authority ruled by a Kang variant. We also know that Tom Hiddleston will be returning alongside Sophia DiMartino, and many familiar faces from the first season. Not much is known about what Loki's next adventure has in store, but there's plenty to theorize about given how the last season ended. For example, the last couple of episodes saw Loki interact with more variants of himself, so it stands to reason that the series will explore more of the multiverse and its many divergent timelines. If Season 2 of Loki can match the same energy and ambition of the first season, then MCU fans are definitely in for a treat. Although Loki died back at the beginning of Avengers Infinity War, he's been alive and thriving in a separate timeline during the events of Loki. However, with the MCU now directly tackling the growing multiverse, it's worth wondering if there's an opening for Loki to return to the main timeline at some point during Phase 5. Without knowing the full details of Season 2 of Loki, it's tough to say at the moment, but there's certainly reason to believe that it might eventually happen.
Surprise!
At this point, it's probably fair to say that Loki is one of the most experienced MCU characters when it comes to traversing the multiverse. As such, he could be a vital ally in the battle against Kang. Of course, Loki's return to the main timeline may be saved for Phase 6, but even if that's the case, the ending of Season 2 of Loki might set him off in that direction. And hey, it'd be worth it to see Thor's reaction alone. Captain Marvel made a few small appearances throughout Phase 4, but she's gearing up for a big cinematic return in the upcoming movie, The Marvels, which will see her star alongside two rising forces in the MCU, Monica Rambeau and Kamala Khan.
Cosmic.
The Marvels is going to be a pivotal Phase 5 film, not only because it sees these three heroes coming together for the first time, but also because it'll likely tackle some of the franchise's biggest hanging story threads. Monica last appeared when she suddenly gained powers at the end of WandaVision. Her return will likely see her fully utilize these new abilities in battle, and if the story takes the same path as the comics, she'll likely take the name Photon or Spectrum. The Marvels will also reveal why Kamala and Carol switched places at the end of Miss Marvel. We don't know any particular plot details to delve into at the moment, but it has been announced that Velvet Buzzsaw's Zawe Ashton will be playing the movie's villain. Although Marvel Studios has faced some production obstacles with its upcoming reboot of Blade, the film is still set to be a part of Phase 5. Blade will see Mahershala Ali step into the big shoes of Wesley Snipes' performance as the titular vampire hunter. New director Yann Damage recently stepped in to helm the film after Bassam Tariq's sudden exit, while bringing on a new writer in Michael Starbury to help pen a fresh script. According to Chloe Zhao, that was Blade who we heard in the post-credits scene of Eternals, meaning that Dane Whitman could also show up in the standalone movie, setting the stage for him to finally become Black Knight. Meanwhile, Blade will likely be one of the MCU's most horror-tinged projects to date, with all the bloodshed you'd expect from the Daywalker's battles against Earth's vampire hordes. Although Phase 4 introduced plenty of heroes, none are as highly anticipated or beloved by fans as Blade, whose movie is easily one of the most eagerly awaited Phase 5 projects. Phase 4 touched on some of Marvel's horror-themed heroes, including Moon Knight and Werewolf by Night. And of course, Phase 5 will formally introduce Blade to the MCU, so is it possible that we'll see some of these characters collide? It's not totally out of the realm of possibility, since these heroes and anti-heroes match each other's tone well. They might even make a splash in the wider MCU. At the moment, the franchise's horror side has more or less been its own offshoot, and it's not clear where exactly certain characters could fit into the MCU's future. Since the end of Moon Knight, fans have been wondering whether we would see the titular hero again, and Oscar Isaac has promised that Moon Knight's time in the MCU is far from over. We haven't heard from him since though, and there's no indication that Jack Russell, Man-Thing, or Elsa Bloodstone will be back anytime soon either. Still, Blade's emergence could offer a tentpole around which Marvel's horrific heroes and villains could revolve, and the rise of the MCU's scary side might even lead to some other long-awaited character introductions.
Good luck. I'll be rotting for you.
Black Panther: Wakanda Forever didn't just introduce a new Black Panther to the MCU. It also brought in another promising young hero, Riri Williams. It wasn't exactly a grand introduction, and while Dominique Thorne certainly kills it in the role and does get a suit to fly around in, Riri doesn't get enough of the spotlight to make her mark. However, that's all set to change with the upcoming Disney Plus series, Ironheart. The series, which takes place after the events of Wakanda Forever, will see Riri return to her hometown of Chicago to build a new suit and interact with a new villain known as the Hood. Aside from that, not much is known about Ironheart, but it'll very likely see Riri fully become her titular superhero persona. After that, maybe she'll join the Young Avengers or turn up in the upcoming Armor Wars movie. Whatever Riri's future has in store, it's a safe bet that she's set to become one of the MCU's most popular heroes. After multiple appearances throughout the MCU, Charlie Cox's Daredevil is finally ready to lead his own series once more with Daredevil Born Again. The show will not only see Matthew Murdock return to his role as protector of Hell's Kitchen, but also the return of Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin as his nemesis. With Daredevil having already met so many MCU characters, and the series' hefty 18-episode order, there's a lot of potential for crossovers and cameos. Since Born Again is a soft reboot of Daredevil rather than an explicit continuation of the Netflix series, it's tough to say if many or any of the characters from that series will appear. But it does open the door for other MCU heroes to turn up. She-Hulk, Echo, and even Spider-Man could play a role in the series. And who knows if any wildcards might appear. Matt Murdock's cameo in No Way Home certainly shows that the MCU isn't afraid to pair the mighty web-slinger and the devil of Hell's Kitchen together. And an alliance with Daredevil could be the perfect way to have Spidey finally meet Kingpin. The MCU is never afraid to bring back old enemies, but Phase 5 in particular will see many old villains rise again to take on new forms and wreak more havoc.
The name's Agatha Harkness. Lovely to finally meet you, dear.
For example, WandaVision's fan-favorite villain will get her time in the spotlight with the upcoming Disney Plus series, Agatha: Coven of Chaos. Plot details are currently under wraps for the series, which has added Aubrey Plaza as a villain, and it remains to be seen how the show will impact the MCU going forward. Meanwhile, a villain from 2008's The Incredible Hulk is also set to make a return in the MCU. Tim Blake Nelson, Samuel Stearns will follow his comic book storyline and become the leader in Captain America: New World Order. Thunderbolts will also see a host of previous villains come together on a new team, including some of the most sinister and dangerous foes to have appeared in the previous phase. Sam Wilson soars once more as the new Captain America in the upcoming movie Captain America: New World Order.
The only power I have is that I believe we can do better.
The film will see Sam continue to traverse the world as Captain America and face off against a new threat in the form of the Leader. Other familiar faces from The Falcon and the Winter Soldier will return, including Danny Ramirez as Joaquin Torres and Carl Lumbly as Isaiah Bradley. New World Order will feature Harrison Ford, who stepped into the role of Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross after William Hurt's sudden passing earlier this year. It will also bring in another new young heroine in Sabra, a superpowered mutant from Israel. The Cloverfield Paradox director Julius Ona will be behind the camera for the fourth Captain America movie, which will feature some of the conspiracy thriller vibes of Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Fans of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier will also be looking forward to this one, which could be a promising start to Sam's tenure as Captain America in the MCU. A new team is forming in the MCU at the tail end of Phase 5, the Thunderbolts. After Valentina Allegra de Fontaine appeared across Phase 4 to gradually build her team of ragtag heroes and villains, they'll take action at last with the upcoming movie Thunderbolts. The titular team will consist of Yelena Belova, Red Guardian, Taskmaster, the Winter Soldier, Ghost, US Agent, and Fontaine herself. They'll be led by Thaddeus Ross. Plot details have been kept under wraps so far, but the MCU has been building toward this team-up throughout the previous phase. Interestingly, the movie will also focus on villains such as Taskmaster and Ghost, who barely played significant roles in their own movies. More importantly, Thunderbolts will bring Harrison Ford's Thaddeus Ross to the fore. If the movie follows the comics closely, his character could be taken in a very intriguing direction. The MCU's long-awaited reboot of Fantastic Four is on the way, and while the film won't debut until the start of Phase 6, we'll likely get our first hints from them sometime in Phase 5. At the moment, there are no plot details for Fantastic Four, and there haven't been any casting announcements either. But it was confirmed recently that WandaVision director Matt Shakman will now be helming the film. We've already seen one variant of Mr. Fantastic show up in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, although at this stage it's very unlikely that this version will reappear. Likewise, prolific rumors about Doctor Doom showing up in Black Panther Wakanda Forever also proved false. It's tough to say where a fantastic hint or cameo might occur in the near future, but as production begins ramping up for the February 2025 film, the arrival of Marvel's first family in the MCU will no doubt loom large over Phase 5.